Hi, good morning. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of your morning devotions. Let me just read the passage once more for us, and I'll just share a little bit of my thoughts on it. The passage comes to us from um, Deuteronomy chapter 13, verses 1 through 11, and it says, "If a prophet or one who foretells by dreams appears among you and announces to you a sign or wonder, and if the sign or wonder spoken of takes place, and the prophet says, 'Let us follow other gods you have not known, and let us worship them.' You must not listen to the words of that prophet or dreamer. The Lord your God is testing you to find out whether you love him with all your heart and with all your soul. It is the Lord your God you must follow, and him you must revere. Keep his commands and obey him. Serve him and hold fast to him. That prophet or dreamer must be put to death for inciting rebellion against the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt and redeemed you from the land of slavery. That prophet or dreamer tried to turn you from the way of the Lord your God commanded you to follow. You must purge the evil from among you. If your very own brother, or your son or daughter, or the wife you love, or your closest friend secretly entices you, saying, 'Let us go and worship other gods that neither you nor your ancestors have known, gods of the people around you, whether near or far, from one end of the land to the other. Do not yield to them or listen to them. Show them no pity. Do not spare them or shield them. You must certainly put them to death. Your hand must be the first in putting them to death, and the hands of all the people. Stone them to death, because they tried to turn you away from the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. Then all Israel will hear and be afraid, and no one among you will do such an evil thing again." And the part of it that really stands out to me, obviously, would be the first verse, first section, and the section found in verse 6, where it talks about fear of man, right? And the things that we would do in response to other people. Um, and although people may not, probably would not ever tell us in those words specifically, "Let us go follow other gods," the reality is that there are many people who do influence us in negative ways in our spirituality. And I guess the question is, how do you respond to that? Right? For me, I think about my own self and all of my spiritual insecurities, and especially when we think of what this passage is saying, if a prophet or dreamer, someone that is known to be a prophet or known to have a special spiritual gift or something like that, with all of my insecurities, I know that I have a tendency to think that others are more spiritual than I am, or they may know more, or they may be, I don't know, a better pastor or a better Christian or something like that. I know that it sounds so silly, but, um, you know, my insecurities run deep, right? And a lot of times I think silly things because I allow the enemy to have a foothold in my mind. And it's ultimately saying your relationship with God should not be hindered by anyone ever. Right? You should never allow anyone to hinder your relationship with God. Right? And so, um, whether it be someone that you think is more spiritual, if they ever lead you astray, if they ever lead you to a place of compromise, then you need to deal with that. And you need to be able to recognize these lies, and you need to be able to recognize the negative influence that the people that you think are more spiritual may be having on you. That includes, a life group leader, includes a pastor such as myself, includes even world famous pastors, right? That we would be deliberate about um, making sure that the Word of God is not compromised, and the authority of God is not ever compromised, right? It's not based on how we feel, it's not based on a spiritual feeling or an emotion, but it would always, and everything must really be based on the Word of God. Um, and so he's talking about those whom we might respect and the way that we need to have and hold on to with confidence our own personal relationship with God and the Word of God that He has given us. But then the second portion that's found in verse 6 begins to talk about relationships. And he talks about um, relationships that we know a lot. I know a lot of times really does have um, a lot of weight on us and on our hearts. Right? People that we hold dear to us. It says our closest friends, the wife that we love, our children. Um, he's talking about those very close to us who we would give so much of our hearts to. And he says, be careful, make sure that even there you do not allow them to influence you in a negative way in your relationship with God. Even more than your closest confidant, you must hold on to the sanctity of your relationship with God Himself. That you would not allow yourself to compromise in any way because of the influence of any of your loved ones. I know that's hard. It's hard to say no to a friend or to a family member. It's hard to say no to someone that we love. But when they are trying to influence us in negative ways, when they are trying to lead us astray, and we need to be able to put our relationship with God first and be able to say no to them. This word even says to put them to death. Now, of course, our understanding of it in the modern world would not mean for us to actually physically kill them. But maybe it means for us to, in the meantime, in the time that we are unable to say no, um, distance ourselves from unhealthy relationships. Right? We know that the Word of God tells us not to be unevenly yoked with unbelievers. And what that means is don't allow yourself to be negatively influenced by someone that might otherwise have control over you if they are an unbeliever. Right? And what we're saying is, as we come before the Lord, if even your wife or your best friend or your children begin to influence you negatively, you need to step back, right? And really ask yourself, why am I allowing them to have so much of an influence on my life? And you need to put your God first. And you need to really reevaluate how you are living out your faith so that you can positively influence your brother, your sister, your parents, your children, your spouse, and your closest friend. That the love that we receive from Jesus would inspire us to help others to love Him and to be obedient to Him. That's what I received from this word, and I hope that you have also received a personal message from the Word of God today. If you have, it would be great if you would share it in the comment section. It would be great if you would, if you feel, embarrassed about publicly writing your comments, email me, right? I give my email out almost every time now, josephchung76@gmail.com. And I want to encourage you, send an email. I'd love to hear from you and love to hear how the Word of God is working and moving in your heart. Okay, have a great day today. Live a victorious day. Don't forget to end this session and this time with the Lord in prayer. Okay, bye-bye.